Hi, I'm Al Jean.
Hey, this is Mike Reiss.
And this is Matt Groening.
This is a disclaimer at the start of the first Halloween show. At the beginning, we felt that these Halloween segments might be too frightening, especially since most of our audience, or a lot of them were children. So we put this in to warn people, although I'm sure it actually made them more interested in what was going to come.
Also, I believe this whole segment is a parody of the opening of Frankenstein. Frankenstein, the original movie, opened with just this kind of disclaimer, a guy coming out in front of a curtain warning the audience.
This was a variation from the main title that we normally have on this show.
Oh, the famous tombstones.
These got harder and harder to write, and so eventually, I don't know when we just abandoned the whole idea.
One problem, too, is that the creepy credits just keep blocking the writing on the tombstones. It's hard to see them.
What a haul this year. I love Halloween. Wait a minute. Let's see what the kids are up to.
And the policeman on the other end of the phone said, "We have traced a call. It's coming from the floor below you. Get out of the house." But it was too late. End of story.
Yawn. I heard that when I was in the 3rd grade. It's not scary.
Is too.
Is not.
Is too.
Is not.
Is too.
Is not.
Fine. Then you tell one scarier.
Flashlight, please. Here's a story that's really...
Another thing that inspired these episodes was classic EC comics, narrated horror tales.
The Halloween shows, by the way, are just about the hardest thing we have to do. They're murderous for the animators, and they're very hard to write, and especially the more of them we do, the more kind of archetypal stories we run through. And it's a drag because it's generally the first or second show we record for the year, so it's just the beginning of a long season, and we're all ready for a vacation by the time we do this one.
Yeah, after as the years have progressed, we've wound up doing it as a holdover, where we write the Halloween show the previous Halloween. That way the animators have more time to direct these things, which are extremely complicated. A lot of new sets, a lot of new characters.
A lot of blood.
I think the house is loosely modeled on the Amityville horror house.
Homer! What's this thing in the corner?
I don't know.
It looks like a vortex. A gateway into another dimension.
Ooh, a vortex. Judge.
This all looked so great when it first aired. I couldn't believe the sophistication of it, and now it's a very ambitious kind of washing machine.
This, I think, is a scene that was in Poltergeist, where
Yeah.
all the objects are flying around. The voice of the house is Harry Shearer.
One of the fun things, though, about doing these Halloween specials is that we get to break the rules and have the characters, chop each other's heads off. And I think there is a cathartic thing that the writers get, being able to make the characters do all sorts of horrible things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We'll have an idea where we'll go, oh, that would be good, but it's too bloody, so we'll do it in the Halloween show. Or sometimes we'll have an idea that's really good, but it just doesn't lend itself well to a full episode.
Well, this is the first Treehouse. Is this the first Treehouse of Horror? This is the only Treehouse of Horror that actually uses the treehouse motif, right?
That's correct.
All right.
Let's sleep on it, okay?
All right. But if anything happens...
What could happen?
There's also an unofficial rule that Kogen and Kodos, who are in the next segment, have to be in every Halloween.
And you know how many times they've been forgotten into the last... Oh, my God, we got to put them in. That's why they appear so...
Oddly.
Oddly, yes, in some of those shows.
My conscience?
Yes, I am.
That's great.
Lisa, the butcher knife, Lisa.
This did scare some kids, I remember.
This was brutal. I mean, we're building to something that I was totally flabbergasted when I first saw it.
They all must die.
I also remember the censor was concerned, Lisa picking up a butcher knife and using... I mean, that is something a kid could imitate.
Luckily, no babies can spin their heads around.
I'm in the kitchen, Homer.
Yeah, that eye shape on Homer, for example, you rarely, if ever, see in the regular episodes because it's so sinister.
A baby with a knife. It's cute.
Everybody.
What's going on out here? Homer, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, stop it.
Sorry.
Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Meg.
This is good direction by Wes Archer.
We're leaving.
Oh, come on, Marge.
Fun.
You said you'd sleep on it.
I don't care what I said. This family has had its differences and we've squabbled, but we never had knife fights before. And I blame this house.
This is a typical Halloween ending where we have scary, horrific stuff, and then it sort of turns into a family issue or Marge, giving some good advice.
There's a joke down there in the graveyard where there's tombstones. It's an Indian graveyard, so it says crazy horse and not so crazy horse. And the writers were outraged that the animators had stuck in this crappy joke on their own, and how could they do this? How did we let it slide through? I can say it now. That was my joke. They phoned me for it, and I never took the blame for it till this minute.
It's all right.
I know. I didn't see what they got so bent out of shape about. It's the worst joke in the history of The Simpsons.
Well, I think it was just because we had bad experiences with the animators sabotaging that very first episode of the show. So,
You mean the DVD extra? Available on Simpson 1 if you haven't bought it yet.
the one where the audio commentary is nothing but us screaming.
Well, that's a lot of them. Yeah, you can see the way that the stairs move is they're a different level going behind the other level.
Stop saying those horrible things and show some manners. Look at me. I've never been
Good
so
acting on the house.
My hands are shaking.
Better than your eyes.
That made me laugh that her hands are shaking, but they're not shaking.
Walls bleed.
No,
Hey, man, we own you. Let's see some blood.
I don't have to entertain you.
Come on, man, do it. Do the blood thing. Come on, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Why are you trying to scare us? Are you trying to keep us from getting close to you? Maybe even loving you?
Leave me alone.
Don't talk to her like that.
Hey, listen, lady.
Well, don't call me lady. My name is Marge Simpson. This is my family, and we're not going anywhere. We're all going to have to live together, so you better get used to it. Please.
Can I have a minute to think about this?
Sure.
Life with
The Addams Family house, the Munster house.
What choice do I
It
have?
looks a little like the Addams Family house where Uncle Fester lived.
Oh, that's great.
It chose to destroy itself rather than live with us. You can't help but feel a little rejected.
And commercials.
That wasn't scary at all, Bart.
Oh, yeah? Well, how about this severed finger? Ew, baby spit. Well, that last story was just a warm-up for this macabre tale.
Hi, I'm Al Jean.
And I'm Jay Kogen.
This is Matt Groening.
Hi, Wally Wolodarsky.
Jim Brooks.
This is segment 2 of the first Halloween show, Hunger the Damned, written by Jay and Wally and directed by Rich Moore.
Hey, I remember that I was really excited about that apron because it was based on when The Godfather was really big and everyone had Mafia staff car bumper stickers. So we were really excited to put it on the apron. Like Homer got in at the very end of the craze.
This lighter fluid gag is pretty much if anybody asked for a Simpsons clip in the first 4 seasons, this is the one they got. I think it was originally a little long.
Yes, we actually wrote it on the page to be enormously long.
Well, we've done variations on this gag, too, where he sprays it even longer and then it lights nicely.
This shot here is a parody of a shot from Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock, also used in Jaws, where you have a zoom and a tracking shot at the same time.
Holy moly.
I mean, this obviously was inspired by EC Comics, which we were all very into. Sam was really into Tales of the Crypt, and so we always talked about doing something like this. I remember the character drawing for Kang and Kodos
was one of the few times that Wally and I ever got to actually draw something and say it should look kind of like this, because the description was very fuzzy. We said it looks like an octopus in a space helmet. Right. It was very hard to figure out with the trail of goo.
Yes, this is their first appearance, and we have an unofficial rule that they have to appear in every Halloween episode.
When you look at the character, you see a clear EC Comics design to it. They're, inexplicably wearing glass helmets,
Protos and I are taking you to Rigel 4.
And of course, Twilight Zone is all over this too. We all saw the Twilight Zone.
I told the animators, I said, look, you guys don't have to make it so hard on yourself. They don't have to drool constantly. Just introduce them drooling and then have them stop. And they said, no, we like it. And they've drooled ever since.
It's nice that they're slimy.
Well, I just think for this plot, too, it's just very funny that they're drooling so much considering the ending.
Eat all you take.
Oh, remember we met James Earl Jones at the Village Recorder in West LA on a Saturday morning. And we had audio tape of him eating cookies.
That's right.
That's a great joke.
The world's greatest announcer, he was clearing his throat and eating cookies and going,
Right. He's like, I remember he was like, oh, these are good.
All earthlings eat. Grow large with food.
They're not suspicious at all. Grow large with food.
Well, some of these things, when you know the ending, you go, well, why did they say that? What was their motivation?
Your wife is quite a dish. It is our great pleasure to provide you with unlimited entertainment on your intergalactic journey. On this cable system, we receive over 1 million channels from the furthest reaches of the galaxy.
You get HBO?
No, that would cost extra. And over here is our crowning achievement in amusement technology, an electronic version of what you call table tennis. Primitive paddles have been replaced by an electronic...
Hey, that's just pong. Get with the times, man.
Marge and I played that old game before we were married.
Well, we did build this spaceship, you know.
Anyone from a species that has mastered it...
This is a George Meyer joke. This is like a standard George Meyer joke construction.
Right. Well, actually, just a standard George Meyer argument.
Right.
Anytime he wants to end an argument.
Right.
If you didn't like the last so-and-so record, all those people who've recorded a gold record, raise your hand. End of story.
Except we all have. Simpsons Sing the Blues still available.
We wouldn't want to spoil our appetite for the great feast when we land on Rigel.
Oh, you remember the...
You'll be a feast.
Remember the first voices they did, though, for the aliens? They didn't want to do the deep, imperious aliens. It was like the...
When we arrive, there will be plenty of time.
It was like those Muppet things on Saturday Night Live. What were those things?
Scraggles or whatever they were.
Grublers?
One secret of their laughing is when a Halloween show is short, we always can lengthen the laugh. Have them fill up some time.
It is true, like in retrospect, when you get to the end, this makes no sense at all. It's the world's biggest cheat.
This will give these humans the perfect flavor.
Remember how long we spent on this book, the book title? I mean, of course, it's all right out of Twilight Zone.
Right.
I mean, everyone recognizes it.
I think the corridor is influenced by the design of the spaceship in Alien.
Oh, come on, Lisa.
You don't believe me? Then just look at this book that I found.
Look, she's right.
You have stopped eating.
Listen, you big, stupid space creature. Nobody eats the Simpsons.
I beg your pardon.
Don't play dumb with me. We found your book.
You mean this? It's a harmless cookbook. It's just a little dusty.
I remember this joke is John Vidi's joke, and I've been taking credit for it ever since.
Yeah. I don't remember. God, I remember we spent so much time with the various
variants on the 4 and 40.
Yeah.
Wait, there's still more space dust on here. Let me get this straight. You thought...
I had an additional joke which was rejected, which was that they blew off the dust one more time, and it was how to cook for 40 humans and then eat them. So they would have gone a different direction, in which case their behavior would have made sense.
Banquet. And Frankly, you people made pigs of yourselves.
I slaved in the kitchen for days.
James Earl Jones, everybody.
Even Darth Vader can cry.
Cry. Mission accomplished.
You aren't the only beings who have emotions, you know.
Sarek the Preparer hasn't returned many times to The Simpsons, has he?
No, because he costs money.
We offered you paradise. You would have experienced emotions 100 times greater than what you call love, and 1,000 times greater than what you call fun.
These are the same guys that in 4 years are killing Bob Dole, Bill Clinton.
Now, because of your distrust...
Did they ever become, like, real characters that actually existed in the Simpsons world? I don't even
Only
know.
in clip shows or Halloween shows,
Halloween
never
show.
in a regular episode.
Right. I don't remember that.
There were monsters on that ship, and truly we were them.
Lisa, see what we mean when we say you're too smart for your own good?
Way to go, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Al Jean.
This is Mike Reiss here.
This is Matt Groening.
And David Silverman over here.
This was the first Halloween show trilogy, and this segment we're about to see is a satire of The Raven, Edgar Allan Poe's classic poem.
And it's, I think we'll discuss over the course of it, there's quite a bit of, there are many cutaways back to the treehouse during The Raven, and they were not original to the episode, even to the animation, because we did something I don't think we've done again, where we really stuck very literally to the Raven text, and it was only watching it fully animated. Obviously, it's bravura animation, but it seemed not Simpson-y enough, and that's why we kept cutting back to reality. But you'll see, at least as we do these segments, how much, even at this early stage, we were able to build out of bits and pieces of old animation.
Well, this is coming up right now is that because it was just all a narration coming up, I just started doing just some weird, almost abstract, surreal type animation. I mean, not wildly, but just within the tone of it, and just doing some weird moves, and then we had this one thing with the brushing of his head. And this I used, of course, Mona Lisa as a reference, and then this is a gag we actually would do in the Tracy Ullman show every now and then. Another picture for Marge's hair.
The poem obviously is read by James Earl Jones, and in this segment, in this trilogy, he's also the voice of Sarek the Preparer in the Alien segment, and the voice of the mover in the Bad Dream House.
I remember watching this in animatic, and I was so frightened that this was going to be the worst, most pretentious thing that we'd ever done. I was like, oh no, where are the gags? Oh my God, this is, it turned out great. And David, I think a lot of the credit goes to, obviously Edgar Allan Poe. And a lot of it goes to you, because I mean the designs on this and the gags and the coloring and everything on this is just so beautiful.
It was great fun. Actually, it was boarded. I boarded it, and Jeff Lynch, who's really a great director, he did a lot of great episodes when he became a director. It really helped, and I ended up, I think, just when I was designing shots, ended up designing the background almost by accident.
Well, this was given the seal of approval by my snotty New York intellectual friends. They really, really loved this.
If we can please one snotty New York intellectual, we've done our job.
I remember in the early days, anyone who would come up to me and say, I love The Simpsons, I love that Raven thing you did, it's like, you're showing off. All right, you're smart. You're the Poe.
Well, plus Bullwinkle used to do it, too.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. A lot of people love this. I'm always amazed. Go to schools and they show it to people. They say, oh, we love this. No. But I had a lot of fun doing a lot of quick cutting on certain parts, like when the Raven first pops in, and doing a lot of really far out, stretched out, wide-angle lens angles.
That cutback to Lisa where he says never more and that's all he'll ever say, that was added in post. You can tell Lisa's acting is not really what would match that reading.
In fact, I think every one of these, there's a lot of loop lines I had forgotten about, too, that come in over this action that was also added in post. I think it's a case of overcompensation. I think there's too much of it, and we didn't really need it, and the piece stands very well, obviously, on its own.
Well, here I really wanted to stretch that sort of distance between the Raven and Homer. And I got to say that Dan's acting on this is really brilliant because he's really doing a great bravado performance and keeping it in this crazy Homer voice of his. And it's just when I heard his reading, I was just so impressed.
Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door.
And every time you get a reading like this, it just makes it a lot easier to do the animation. And here it was just sort of like, I just tried crazy angles, and this was just a really insane flying point of view shot. This is the only really gag that we had here.
That's great.
The old Warner Brothers gag. But I always like this gag dropping the books. Really, really terrific music that Alf did.
Yeah. This was Alf's first show, I believe, too.
I think so.
Oh, really?
Yes, I mean, it's a huge challenge. We always say a Halloween episode, which are especially music heavy, have more music cues than a feature film.
I would actually love, we've done those two, Alf has done those two albums of songs, mostly songs from The Simpsons. I'd love him to do one that's just mostly just like this one, just the orchestral music, because it's so great on this episode, all 3 acts.
Yeah, generally when we submit a show for the Music Emmy, it's the Halloween show.
I guess I'll have no
good.
trouble getting to sleep tonight.
I'll just say, we kind of had to do these not really on the fly, but Rich and Wes and myself, we all had 5 episodes to do that season. And this one was also like, oh, can you do 1 act of this Halloween episode? And I don't know how we got it done, but we're looking at it now.
I'm also impressed how we thought this was going to be really scary. Marge does a disclaimer at the Halloween show at the beginning, and it's gotten so much bloodier over the years.
Regular episodes are scarier than this one now.
Here, Homer's scared by a bird.
Itchy and Scratchy episodes are scarier than this now.
Yeah, the scary Halloween names came in the next year in season 3.
Was that your idea?
Yeah, well, it was based on what EC Comics used to do, obviously, where the editors would give themselves scary names. Except now there's so many producers and so many scary names, the blood lettering fills the screen. You can't see the show.
You can't read any of the names.
I try to make my little nickname shorter than my name. So, rather than those long, drawn-out ones.
This is the first time we did a different title music, right?
Yep.
Well, yeah, this is supposed to be a theremin, but a theremin can't hit all those notes, so